Second. All right, it goes live. The sun is going down right outside this window. It's like super bright, shining into my. Like, yeah, you can. It's okay. You can look at it. It's not. It's just blown out white. It's not actual sun gazing that will destroy your retinas or whatever. Look into it. Look into it. But last night, I don't know. I was thinking it was like 5 o'clock, and I cracked. I guess that 5 hour energy makes these tall boys now. So I was looking at it and I was like, should I? 5's a little late. And I was like, oh, I'll do it. I'll be kind of productive. And I was, but then I couldn't sleep. I basically didn't sleep last night. So I did a stream an hour ago and I like couldn't remember stuff as I'm talking about it. I'm like, oh, it's getting frustrating, especially for live stream. So now I have my little notebook. So,
that happened. I was at a college film shoot years and years ago, and it was late night. It was a late night shoot. And we were shooting in the director's parents' dentist office. So they let him use it as a set piece for like the hospital. He was shooting like a short horror movie for like it was like a oddly enough a pandemic.
Well,
years and years before COVID. And I remember the actor who played the main doctor. He was good. And then I remember it was about maybe 11 o'clock at night. And I think it was about maybe 3 or 4 takes, and he grabbed the monster. No, not a monster. Red Bull. Grabbed the Red Bull, right? Started drinking it, and I saw him. He downed it, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I think you're making a mistake, man. You're making a mistake." And then, sure enough, the next few takes, he couldn't remember his lines.
Wow!
He couldn't remember his lines. He kept fumbling his lines because remember before the Red Bull, he was fine. He was a little slow, a little sluggish because it was late and he was a little older. But he was hitting his lines. He was hitting his lines, and the director was like, "Oh, I need more, right? I need more than that." And so, I guess he thought the Red Bull would help, but all it did was he just fumbled his lines over and over and over again. I was like, "Oh, this is bad."
The brain fog is real from ODing on energy drinks. It's happened to me, but it should be not just one that will make it happen, and that's kind of what happened to me. Like 5 hour energy. What are you doing? I thought I could trust you. I'm back to just the shooters once in a while. Also, I was like reminiscing, or no, I didn't nostalgia for it because that's what we used to drink in college. If we were gonna like, I'll be up late going to a party and you are tired, you're like, all right, I'm just gonna take a 5 hour energy. It's gonna all be good, and we would do that. But I haven't had the reason to drink them ever. So, but I saw it. It's like, I remember this brand. They got tall boys now.
Wow, tall boys. That's crazy.
Yeah, just a big 16 ounce thing of energy, like a monster, but it was basically like a monster, but it was like just crazy.
Right.
But yeah, so how are you guys doing? Each of you have live campaigns right now, which we'll be going over in a second. There's 7 people watching. Thanks everyone for being here. Just so people know, it's Reset Protocol from Julius and Air Rider from Ken. And we're going to give a few more minutes for people to filter in. Then we'll be going over those campaigns and talking about it. The focus is a little bit more on craft writing, comic creation type stuff, but while kind of through the lens of trying to promote these projects too, especially just to try and get them some extra eyes and everything. But yeah, by the way, Matt Cosson is in the chat. How's it going, Matt? Good to see you. But sorry, I think I cut you guys off. So Julius, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm happy. The Reset Protocol funded, so I'm riding high on that. And it's a good Wednesday. It's a good Wednesday this week.
Funding on a Wednesday on Comic Book Day. Basically.
On Comic Book Day of all days, which is perfect, pitch perfect.
Yeah.
So thank you for those who backed, and I will make sure you get those books as soon as possible.
Yeah, and this is one that's all completely done at this point, right?
Yeah, there's an artist is currently drawing about 6 pages, which was full disclosure a plot hole that I left when I originally wrote it, which was 10 years ago. I was a rookie writer at the time, so I was just writing shorts. At the time, I was like maybe 6-7 page shorts. And I would hire random artists online just to kind of get the feel of not just having artists like not just for them to draw my stories, but also to get the feel of negotiation, finding the right artist for the right fit, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so this was the first real complete, like 40 plus page story that I've ever written and completed. And I got lucky with Andre Araujo, who drew the book. It was his first project before he went off and did his thing at Marvel. And
Nice.
you know, I released it in Comixology under a different title. It was called The Cleansing at the time.
Mhm.
And I didn't get a lot of reviews. I got people who bought it, but no reviews. And one person reviewed it on Bleeding Cool, and they mentioned a few things that was like, I don't want to say hurtful, but more like, okay, that's valid. You know, those are valid points. And so I kind of took it away and just kind of sat on it, just wondering what did I do wrong. And then I finally found not found, but I had a friend who I trust because he's very honest with me, to read it. And he told me straight out, like, yeah, man, you know, it's pretty dense. Like you really pack a whole bunch in it, and you didn't really need it. Maybe, that's when he mentioned, maybe if you had a few more pages, you could have let it breathe more. And I was like, that's it. I need more pages. So for years, I tried to get Andre to come back to draw some more pages, but he obviously was busy and he didn't want to come back to that style that he drew for Reset Protocol. He already moved on to a different style, and he was happy with that. So for years, I was just thinking, how am I going to work around this? I don't want to release this with this big plot hole, because that's the one thing that readers are going to notice when they read the book. So finally, when I decided, oh, you know what? I think it's time. I think it's time to get this book out. So I just need to find another artist who could get as close to this style as possible. And I found an artist, and he's currently drawing the plot hole as we speak. But it's a, like I said, quick 6 pages, and we're good. We're good to go.
Nice. That's an interesting position to be in, to add pages rather than take them out. Kind of, it's like you wrote it so fast paced that you can add a little bit of the extra air. I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's like patching a hole in the story.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I've done that too. I've added like what I consider might be a plot hole and just fix it with because comics, yeah, you can treat them as living documents, whether or not it's been multiple printings or if it's just like it hasn't been published yet. So up until the point you publish it, you know, I'll be changing dialogue too or whatever.
Right.
And then
it's not that uncommon, I don't think.
Yeah. With Earthbound, yeah, there was one where I was trying to decide a joke, and I was extra self-conscious about, because if you try to be funny and then no one laughs, that's almost the worst. So you can just never try to be funny in comics, and that works, but that's also cowardly. So I'm like, I got to be brave. I got to try. And so I was like, I had written like 3 different versions of the same joke, and I didn't know which one to go with. And I was like, and I was like every day changing it. And then I just sent it to get published and printed. And that's the one that stays. And it's like, that was almost just random that it happened to be that one, you know, it's like, just because then it was time to go to print.
Right. You don't have like a, I guess like a meter as to what you think is funny. Cause what I do with that, cause I come to the same situations like you, where I want to say a joke, or when I have a character say a joke, and I'm like, is this going to land? Because what I try to do is I try to see if it makes me genuinely laugh myself.
Oh, yeah.
Not like a forced laugh, but, you know, like, oh, that's actually pretty funny. I like that, you know, and keep it. You keep it intact.
Yeah. You know, with what's been great is if I'm collaborating with, this happened with Hotel Story, a lot of times me and Jared are spitballing, and it'll tend to be me. I'm more the like, my personality type even is like more like throw shit at the wall to see what sticks. And he's more like autistic genius or something. So I'm like, I'm saying like tons of stuff, and he's like, and I'll say something, and I'll go, like, that's it. We're putting that in the book.
Right. I use my wife not for the joke, but for when I have a story idea. And yeah, it's the same deal. But with her, it's more of a, oh, that sounds pretty good. And it's like, okay, it sucks. I got to go back to the drawing board.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, there's one even so I'll even like tell my mom stuff once in a while. She'll be visiting, and somehow some comic stuff came up, and I told her, and she had laughed awkwardly because it was so weird what I had told her about like the story or whatever.
Right.
And then I was like, "See, you think it's funny?" She's like, "No, I don't." And I was like, "Oh, okay." You were just laughing as like defense mechanism because it was
Yeah,
so
she was being nice.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Ken, how are you doing too?
I'm doing all right, man. Just like really busy with the campaign and whatnot. Trying to keep it going. It's like in that dead zone in the middle where you're trying to, like, keep the fire going until the end, and then it'll all just kind of blow up at the end too.
Yep. Yeah, the middle, I'm like there with my campaign too. And it's funny, it's after even like the opening is always really nice. And then you literally have to like fight depression for a few days while the dopamine is like draining from your brain. And then you're like, no, it's good, it's good. And then whatever. And then it kind of closes and stuff. And then you're fulfilled.
Right.
But yeah, that's why it's good to have you guys on, like for both these kind of in the middle. Reset Protocol's about to approach that last stretch, which we were
Right.
talking about. So with Air Rider, yeah, everyone, 58 backers, 17 games to go. Keep this one in mind, chat. We're going to be going over these more in detail in a little bit, but this is Ken's book. It looks great. And
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
great
Yeah.
premise too. I love the premise.
Thank you.
yeah, it is cool. It's a cool setting too. And then Julius's book, Reset Protocol. This is like, like Mobius sci-fi kind of thing. And
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's got
Yeah,
those like really strong vibes there.
yeah, and like heavy metal a little bit kind of thing. And and the new title is I think better than The Cleansing. Reset Protocol is kind of sweet.
Yes,
name.
it's that was what I had to really think about when I was going to reintroduce it back to the to the indie scene and go, okay, it can't be cleansing. It's got to be sci-fi. It's got to be heavy sci-fi. And so it took a while. I went through a few variations. And obviously the term that's been thrown around for the past year is the Great Reset, right? And I was like, oh, that's interesting, but I can't call it the Great Reset.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Right.
so I was like, okay, well, I had to explore what the story was that I had, including the plot hole. And then I really dove deep into, okay, what's the plot hole and how can I fill this up? And not only fill it up, but also complement the rest of the story. And as I did that, I think late December of last year, that's when I was like, okay, it's definitely got that Great Reset vibes, but I don't want to call it that. So that's why I came up with different variations, and finally the Reset Protocol made the most sense within the confines of the story that I wrote.
Yeah,
Right.
that's cool. And we were talking a little bit behind the scenes before we got started about marketing and narratives in marketing and how effective they can be, and then how there you can have kind of a cynical response to that, or you can embrace it, or somewhere in the middle. But I was thinking too, just to expand on that, have you guys heard of ARG marketing or just ARGs?
ARG, no.
No.
It stands for like alternate reality game, I think is what they call it. But they say ARG marketing usually. So it's an alternate reality game marketing. And it's where you craft the narrative. And it is a little bit more of like, I'm like, did they just use like linguistics to trick people into accepting something that normally they would hate? But a lot of times it's kind of fun. But for example, a super famous one is what's the horror one? The Blair Witch Project, where
Right.
yeah, like they start releasing actual news stories about filmmakers that went missing, and they're
Right.
pretending that it's real. And then so that kind of brings the participation. So that's why it's like alternate reality. Like it's creating this, everything is real, but this is not real. And it's this new narrative that people can jump in, and it adds all this extra interest to why they might want to go see the movie. And there's actually kind of like a million different examples of, like, people will set up like fake conspiracies so you can kind of go down little rabbit holes and find it. But another one that would like get accused of that, and it was almost like, yeah, like, is it or not? It's Julius mentioned it, but it's the girl. I didn't even watch the video, but I saw everyone talk about it. But it's the girl. Apparently she has a crazy accent, right? Like a Southern accent or something.
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
And
From
she,
Alabama, I think.
yeah, and she like got a bunch of haters, and then she had a huge response of fans coming in her support, and then so then she gets the cynical response, people being like or like me even, I'm like, she's AI, she's not even real.
Yeah.
Um, and then or people being like, yeah, like that was manufactured, they're going to use her to like sell something now or push some agenda. She's been elevated as a folk hero kind of thing. This is a little separate thing, but I've noticed folk heroes are funny because a lot of times I think folk heroes are like murderers and like bandits and outlaws. A lot of times they're like outlaws basically. And I didn't really realize that, but I don't know if like if you go down the list, like I'm thinking like I can think of ones that aren't. But even in real life, like there was a guy in Europe who is kind of he's more famous over there than over here, but he's considered a folk hero because the government was like gonna confiscate his house because of some weird stuff, and he was like, they were really, it was the ultimate of government being bullies for no reason. They were like messing with him. He was like a farmer kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
And it was one guy in particular was working for the government, was the government agent. He absolutely would be a villain if he was in a novel, but this is real life, mind you.
Oh, yeah.
But the guy,
Right.
and even like there's like lots of footage and news, and you can see the guy like enjoys fucking with this farmer and enjoys ruining the farmer's life. And anyway, the farmer kills him. The farmer like murders him and then gets arrested. And then I think he went to jail for a long time. But it was because they brought all this news for some reason, and the guy's like, we're going to take your house or whatever, and the farmer's like, if you take one more step, I'm going to shoot you. And he's like, yeah, I'd like to see you. He gets blasted.
Oh
Wow.
man. And where was this at?
And it was in Europe. It was like in Britain or whatever. If we have any
Man.
Brits in the chat, if they know who we're talking about, because this was just like a YouTube video I watched, but I watch it, you kind of get the response. You're like, fuck yeah, man. But like, oh wait, it's murder. Like,
Yeah. Right.
Right.
but
Yeah, the lines are being blurred a little bit, aren't they, when it comes to these viral things that
Yeah.
we see online. And
There
that's
was like,
that's the I don't want to say it's an issue, but it's very interesting the times we're living in, because you know, you we're talking in the green room, you're talking about how, like, you know, just say for example, your book got attacked, or you got attacked by a bunch of cancel culture types, and you know the book would blow up,
yeah,
and
because that would create the narrative.
that would create the narrative of people like, oh, we got to defend this guy, and that's a very noble thing too, because that's kind of natural. That's how kind of human beings function. When someone's
Mhm.
being attacked, we all gather up and say, hey, come on, like leave this person alone. What's your issue? And then they start to support you, if in case you have, you know, like a book or any other product that you're selling.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like a double-edged sword of sorts, because it's nice to have the support, right? It'd be nice to make
Yeah.
a whole bunch of money if you're being attacked, but at the same time, it's like, well, as much as I would appreciate the support, if that ever does occur, you know, I would prefer you buy my book because you are genuinely interested in the book I'm selling you, not because
Yeah.
you're protecting my I guess self-respect or whatever it is that's being attacked.
Right.
Yeah.
That's I would prefer that. I would prefer readers be like, yeah, you know what, I want to get Priesthood Protocol because I actually like this. I actually this type of story is up my alley. I like this kind of story, or Air Rider or Earthbound or whatever books that you guys are working on. That's what I really want as a comic book creator. So it's like it's part of the it's part of the current, I guess, landscape. We just have to just
Yeah,
be part
because
of it.
you're right to point out that people, it's something that will be taken advantage of if it isn't already.
Mhm.
Is like, and that's what people are kind of getting cynical about too. So there's
Right.
multiple reactions at once, but it's like people will run to defend someone who's being bullied, and then so marketers will fake being bullied to get like more.
Wow.
That's freaking what the SJWs do. Actually, they kind of poke the right to get attacked, and then they claim victim, and it worked. That worked for them for a while, but that doesn't even work that good anymore.
No,
So,
because it's got to be authentic, and it's got to be a little
yeah,
authentic, you know.
yeah.
Like
I wonder if people
that,
can kind of spot that kind of stuff. That's good if
yeah,
they can.
yeah, because you know human beings naturally are just that's what we flock to when someone's I guess authentically being attacked, you know. And And that's what happened with that. I don't know even know her name, but that Alabama woman was the fact that someone else, another influencer, attacked her, and not only attacked her voice, but attacked her way of life. And that's something that's inherent in all of us. You don't attack someone's way of life. We're raised to look at, hey, you respect another person's way of life, so as long as you don't cross, there's not a line cross, right? In terms of like a law or whatever, or more a moral compass of some sort. But if they're not bothering anybody and they're just doing what they love to do, Hannah, thank you, Ben. Then leave them alone. And that's what worked with this Hannah character or this person. Is that she was just posting videos of her fishing, her doing things that she loved, and she got attacked for it, and that's what made everyone flock to her defense. It's like, oh, she's too masculine. She shouldn't, she doesn't deserve to be, quote unquote, married or taken because of her masculine energy in those videos, and that's what caused that raw emotional response.
And then people were talking about tomboys and stuff, and people were
Exactly.
misdefining tomboys. Yeah, that's funny. Tomboys, they're like, I think most people are like nostalgic, like, oh, I wish we had more tomboys around. Now everyone's trans or whatever. But
tomboys were cool, man. I remember I was friends with a lot of tomboy girls, and they were cool. They were cool people, for the most part. Not all of them were cool, but for the most part, they were.
Totally. Ken, what do you think? Do you ever fantasize about ARG marketing for Air Rider? About using AI bots to create a narrative?
No, not to create a narrative, but now that you mentioned like the Blair Witch Project and how they created a story around the creators going missing and making it like a real thing, I almost think it would be wrong to do it with Air Rider because it's based on a school shooting that happened in the story, but then using that for the actual book, that would be like morally questionable.
Yeah.
So I think I'll just keep it to the cartoon.
I know that's interesting because it is good subject matter because it's relatively unpicked, and like I can imagine it. If it was, it could easily be like propaganda or like weird or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
It is cool doing it the way you're doing, of like an origin story for a superhero. That's like a pretty cool way to do it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and I try to I'm in the story, it stays away from all the political trappings that would come with a premise like that. It really stays away from all that and focuses just on the character and what he's going through and the story present.
Yeah, cool. By the way, guys, I wonder where Joe is. I wonder if he's just
I'm wondering because he did say 5 o'clock would have been fine, but maybe he just caught up because it happens. Like in my day job, that's what happened with me, where I was like, oh, I'm set to go at 5, I'm ready to go, and then last minute, not last minute, but when I sent you guys the message, I got a message, I got an email from a client saying, can I get this at 5:30? And I was like, oh, great. It's like fantastic.
Yeah.
So maybe he got caught up with this. What he's doing.
He might pop in, as we're talking. So I'm just keeping one eye on the bottom of the screen. I'm always paranoid that he came in and I didn't see him or something. I'm like,
right.
And we're here going having the merry old time.
He's like, just let me in. He's commenting in the private chat. I'm here. I've been here for 20 minutes.
That would be crazy.
So a little bit on this like narrative idea. One thing is every creator has an inherent narrative thing that kind of comes with it, and it is just it's like so like, because that is a thing with crowdfunding, is like we do like to back people that we like a little bit, and again, even that's almost like you can get nostalgic for the days when it was a little more anonymous behind the scenes or whatever. But it's very public facing now, being a creator and learning to navigate that, and it's kind of fun. But that's something you can kind of, I think, kind of non-cynically play with. And specifically with me with Earthbound, it was something like people were talking about, and I would play it up, but it was that like Comicsgate kind of helped me escape the Fred Meyer deli. That's where I was working, and then Earthbound doing pretty good, and I quit that job. And everyone's like,
Nice.
"Oh man, we're helping someone quit working a shitty minimum wage job. Now they're a pro comic artist." Like that's the narrative, and that did, help and boost. And there can always be one there, even if there's nothing like Blair Witch, or even like an ARG. Because I have thought about that as like a little bit of an ARG thing that could be cool is like more mini comics, like just one random one. Like some of it gets kind of too crazy, but I was like, you could hand out mini comics with one campaign, and then you could throw a crazy party at a chocolate factory where you have to have a copy of the mini comic to get entry into the party. And like stuff like that is like that's like a little bit above my pay grade or whatever, but
Right.
oh, there's like things that you could add a little bit of it's almost like a little bit of a narrative to it. Malin did that with his shirts. He sold graveyard shirts, and he's like, if you're wearing one of these and I see you, the rule is I have to buy you a drink. And that's like
that's cool. That's
yeah,
cool
that's a lot of fun.
I think that's you hit a good point there, because that's what made comic books, for me anyway, cooler, I guess, is the fact that some publishers would go out of their way to thank you for being a fan or venerating their product or their brand. When what was that one publisher that gosh, I forgot the name of the publisher. They were in business in the late 90s, I think, in Florida, and they had all these
Extreme Studios or something?
No, it wasn't Extreme Studios. It was they had books like Scion, and it was really quick. It was like a little blip that happened. It was like a rich guy who wanted to start his own comic book publishing company, and
yeah, if someone says it, I'll know it, but I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, well, anyways, I was a really big fan of what they were doing, and I just sent them a random letter like, hey, I really like what you guys are doing. This is really great, and I hope I wish you guys success. I'm enjoying the books that you put out. And then like randomly, like they sent me as a thank you a customized poster of their character, which was my favorite book, Scion. And I was like, oh, this is so cool, and that's what like what you mentioned about Malin with the shirt. That's something that creators like the CrossGen. Thank you, Ben. See, Ben's the encyclopedia, walking encyclopedia right now.
Yeah, nice. The comments are just him telling you what you're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Ben. CrossGen Comics was the company, and they sent me this grape. I still have it to this day. I'm never gonna get rid of it because I was so touched by that. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And then when I would go to the cons, sometimes the creators would go a little bit, take the extra step to appreciate your support. So nice. I think that's the next logical step that a lot of us indie creators need to start doing. And we have been doing, as a lot of us have been doing it. It's just, showing that we're grateful for the fans and readers.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, even thinking of this a little bit of an evolution, but in-person stuff is something that hasn't happened too much yet. And because right in the middle of Comicsgate was COVID and there were no conventions even.
Right.
But now there's like the indie scene plus conventions is like an option again, and it's just starting to happen. And that seems kind of promising and fruitful too, like for various reasons, what it would have been in the past of like, networking, but basically like networking with the fans. It was fun at the Florida one at Tampa because you'd meet fans and they'd be like, yeah, I'm suck it in the chat. My name's Ben. And I'm like, nice. So you have to keep track. Graham Nolan had a notebook where he had written everyone's chat name and then their real name. So he could remember 2 names for every person. And it was cool that Graham was doing that, and that's another example. Like Graham's a great guy. Graham hosted a couple cigar meetups, I think, and people could just meet and chat and ham it up and talk and everything.
Nice.
So I'm always looking forward to like more of that potentially, and I don't know where it'll go or whatever, but
yeah, absolutely. I think that's the next logical step also, is to do more cons, big or small, big and small, not just big ones, but the small ones that are available for in your local areas. And there's a bunch of them. There's always a bunch near me where it's just like one hotel lobby and there's a few tables set up, but hey, it's still a con. You still get your stuff out there. You still get exposure. So I think ever since things opened up more and more after the COVID shutdown, um, now it's more and more people are comfortable to go out again in areas where there's a lot of people around, and take advantage of it. I think all of us should take advantage of all that stuff, so that way we can grow. And I know years and years ago, it was the goal was, okay, I get my indie book out, and hopefully an editor, discovers me or notices my work and hires me for a gig at Marvel or DC or Dark Horse, whatever. But now it's like, no, I actually kind of like where I'm at right now. I like the fact that I have my own books and I get to talk to readers who are fans of the books that I produce. I watched this YouTube documentary yesterday about the creators of oh
I know what
gosh,
you're talking. ElfQuest.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
comic. Yes. I saw that yesterday, and I was like, that's such an inspirational story that they actually, during a time when it wasn't like the norm, it was just unheard of to do that, and they
Right.
went out there and they did it, and that's very inspiring. I think that's what a lot of indie creators today, in this current landscape, should thrive for. And if you do get a gig at Marvel or DC or wherever publisher, that should be extra. But the main course should be our own books and our own fandom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Like it, because some of it's intimidating at first, but
Mhm.
once you do it, then you've done it and you can keep doing it, and then you're sitting in a good position. You're keeping most of the money. Like, because I've even talked to a few people, as like things have like healed, and so like we can kind of start to talk to the mainstream if we want. And I've been
Right.
thinking about like trying to get published, and a couple people have been like, you know what, I maybe don't, because you make more money doing what you're doing. Like, so just think about it. Like, there is a trade. Like, maybe you get a bigger audience, a bigger reach, but that's not even guaranteed. It's like
Right.
the way we're doing it is like, this is the system right now, is indie comics, YouTube, Twitter, and crowdfunding kind of.
Doesn't it feel like more work on your end doing it the way you are doing it right now, like versus getting published and having like a marketing team or like a promotion team behind what you're doing? Or do you have to do the same amount of promotion if you were to get published?
Good question. I think now they do say like you have to market your book if you get published, like you by Dark Horse or whatever. And because it is like the front facing kind of thing, it's like that. Those are the books that'll do well, is like creators that do interact with their fans. And there was that, like, and I it was before my time, but it was on message boards and stuff. A lot of creators were doing that. And I think this is something your boy Zach talks about, is there was one like ground zero point, and it was the guy who writes Spider-Man for Marvel, Dan Slott. It was Dan Slott saying like F off to a fan at a message board. And no one had ever seen that. So it had been like, the internet maybe had been around for like 15 years at that point. So 15 years of like, everyone's a pro, everyone's like having fun talking. And then like the beginning of the end of this downward spiral is Dan Slott on a message board yelling F off to a fan.
Yeah, I remember that was very jarring for me when I joined Twitter back in 2000, I want to say 15, when I first joined Twitter. And I started following a bunch of comic book writers and artists that I liked when I was, actively reading comics. And that was the one thing that I realized. I was like, whoa, what the hell? This professional just told this fan to go fuck off. Like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, and it was really like, what's happening? It was right when the whole that presidential campaign with Trump and Hillary Clinton were starting to take off. And I think she had used the word deplorables at that point, if I remember correctly. And that's when I just started seeing, like, I was like, whoa, dude, what's happening here? Why is this? And I had no idea about the Dan Slott thing until I saw that video produced by Richard Meyer. And I was just blown away by the lack of professionalism. It's like, it's one thing to not agree, right? You could say, oh, I don't agree with that, but to tell someone, oh, you're an effing a-hole, I was like, what, dude? Like, come on, like, just block the guy. Why can't you just block the person or mute them? Like, I don't understand.
Right.
Especially in contrast to like the alternative, where you're creating potential memories for fans and giving them a special experience of like meeting the creator of a book that they really enjoy. It's like the
Right.
opposite.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. And I feel like because there wasn't any immediate consequences for that action or for that type of behavior,
Right.
it was just seen as like, okay, we could just continue doing with this, and then that's where the spiral just kept going down and down.
Yeah, a lot of respect was lost for a lot of
yeah,
people. In my end, I don't know, can't speak for everyone else, but on my end, it was like, man, like I don't understand why. There's a reason why there's a mute and block button on Twitter, not just on Twitter, but any social media, any platform. You could just hit
Right.
the
yeah.
block and you're done. But I
Yeah,
guess
that's a life hack because you can curate your feed so you don't get triggered or whatever. And because it is
Exactly.
Yeah.
like weird, and it's even navigating like I remember it's almost like it could be a plot of Star Trek because it's like a moral kind of thing where it could be like, so it's like, yes, respect the fans. That's where this all started, like what kind of the Comicsgate thing. But then it's like, what if a fan is like truly being malicious,
Right.
but there actually are like a fan? Then what do you do? And you're like, respect the fans, respect the fans. Usually, what I've at some point you would maybe, yeah, you like, well, you mute them, but maybe you would say something at some point. But I think a lot of times what I've been doing is, because it only happens once in a while, but if I do see something that like, if I wasn't a comic creator and wasn't trying to be professional, then maybe I would be like, hey, like screw off, buddy, or whatever.
Right.
But instead, you literally like have to ignore. You literally do nothing because it's weird because any kind of reaction could potentially go wrong. You know?
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
even if you like sort of are kind of like, I'm sorry you feel that way. I strive for you. You know, like that sort of, they'll accuse you of being fake or whatever. Or
Yeah.
facetious
They're
Yeah.
disingenuous about it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've observed. I've observed that the best course of action is to just simply ignore, and then that's it. It's kind of like it dies at the vine. It doesn't
Yep.
grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll get some like, I guess, hateful type comments under my some of my YouTube videos, but most times I'll just assume like maybe they're like a teenager or somebody like younger, because
Right.
you
Or,
could end
or
up,
drunk.
Or drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like you could end up arguing with somebody who's not even qualified to have the conversation. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'll always keep it positive, even if they're being negative with me, or I'll just ignore them outright, because what they
Yeah.
want usually is the attention or the negativity that they're trying
Yes.
to
Yeah.
spark.
Yeah, because that
Absolutely.
can become an addiction in itself, and you kind of got to check that almost because it can happen to anyone. But if you kind of get into the negativity of social media,
Right. And sometimes just being kind like disarms them. Like they'll almost even apologize for like
Yeah.
trying to spark something up.
yeah, I had that happen once where a guy was being kind of a hole, kind of multiple commenting under my stuff, but I ignored him, and then one day he was really nice, and so I was like, okay, you're nice again, I guess. It was like a storm, and then storm passed.
Right.
But yeah, Richard Lusur has a question. Richard Lusur is a buddy. He helps me run my eBay store.
Oh, cool.
But he says, what's your thoughts on what Alterna Comics is doing? I don't know specifically if they're doing anything crazy, but they're just doing like creator-owned publishing, an option for creators to kind of have that outlet. They definitely have the situation where you need to promote your own book, to see results. And then Pete is a great guy, and his book is really impressive and fun. And that one has had a little bit of like kind of some of that lightning in a bottle type feel to it. It just feels kind of cool, like King Cryptid.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys got any thoughts on Alterna?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. It's a kind of a broad question. Exactly, do you mean like because I know there's been some public I guess divorces from creators and Alterna, and it's kind of I think on the standpoint of where Pete's standing, he wants consistency, which is obviously within his right, because obviously you want that's what our industry is built upon, is consistency, is constantly getting books out on time because readers are accustomed to getting books on time, right? Every month they go back to the shops because they're expecting the next issue to come out. But other than that, like, I think what Pete's doing is great. I mean, he's the pinnacle of a marathon runner, right? He's been doing this for so long now. And I remember when I had left Twitter post that presidential election because it just got too wild for me. I was like, whoa, this is too much. I got to get out of here. So I booked it. But then I talked to a friend of mine who told me, if you want a successful indie career, you got to have a strong social media presence, or else you're never going to sell books. So I was like, all right. So I went back, and when I got back, that's when when he got attacked happened. And he lost a bunch of stores and all that, and he persevered, man. So I got to give Peter credit for just persevering and just fighting through the storms that come his way.
Yeah. I remember when he got attacked, I was like, wait a minute, they're attacking Pete Samedi. He's like he's not right-wing bigot or anything. He's like regular guy. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's a guy who loves comic books.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's all he wants to do. He's ever wanted to do, and he's been doing it. He's the guy that we all should strive for. Publishing, owning our own publishing house or distribution house, whatever, our own company, and help trying to make it grow.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. What else I was gonna? Well, what we should do is because we've been chatting all into it. Let's actually go over these campaigns now, because we have 14 people watching. Thanks everyone for being here. Let's see if we get any backers while we're watching. It's called the Narwhal Nuge. It's a wrestling move.
Nice. Is it how devastating is the move?
It's a knockout. I don't know. No, it's probably kind of weak, but it's like the fans like it. Like it's like a taunt. It's like a taunt.
Okay.
Like in beat 'em ups, you can do like a taunt and it powers you up for a second. But then if you get attacked while you're taunting, then it's like extra embarrassing, kind of. But yeah, so if that happens, that's awesome. But also just the awareness is important, especially 4 days. Knowing it's out there, knowing it's an option. This is a perfect one. Oh, and I was gonna say that there used to be a hashtag called buy one back one, and it's kind of a cool concept. And it's like, speaking of this marketing thing and this idea that narratives will like sell, there are books that are like exploding partially because of narratives or whatever, like Yara, it's amazing what they're doing. And that book is like great. And it's whatever. But that one, it has a little extra boost because there's a little narrative surrounding it.
Right.
So that's like a big book. So that would be like the buy one. And then the back one is the one where you kind of take a chance, where you're like, well, what else is out there? Can I support the indie industry? And so that's the idea. Like back in the day, it would be like you buy Cyberfrog and then find something like back like Earthbound. It would be like my book or something like that.
I see.
Some not quite as big. So consider that too. Like it's good. It's kind of fun, the idea of, even if you can afford it, obviously, but of backing in pairs, where you're kind of backing one big one and one experimental one, where you're kind of taking a chance. Potentially.
Okay, got it.
Right.
And yeah, so just everyone knows that concept. It's kind of a fun one. It would be good to keep it out there as we continue on into the future here. But Julius, we can go with you first. So it's at 93. Kickstarter, it upticks live, different than Indiegogo. So we may or may not see it go up. But first off, both of you guys are doing Kickstarter. I haven't really done a Kickstarter in earnest yet, and I kind of want to. But like, is it very different than Indiegogo, or is it like kind of the same? It's just you promote wherever you are.
No, it's a little different.
Okay.
It's what's different about it are the add-ons, because it's been a while since I used Indiegogo. But what was nice about Kickstarter was the add-ons, and that was new to me, and I didn't know the benefit of having the add-ons. Now I do, and I kick myself in the ass for not taking full advantage of that, because I had a few backers tell me, hey, can because I guess in Kickstarter you can't back twice. Once you back it, you're done. It won't let you back it again. And so one of the one backer reached out to me and says, "Hey, do you have a like an add-on so I could buy the reader copy? Because I don't want to use the foil cover copy to read. I want to actually like buy another one so I could read it." And I was like, "Oh, dang. Yeah, let me see if I can do that." And I guess I can't do it once I make the campaign live. But Kickstarter is very user friendly when it comes to building your not your platform, but the page.
Yeah.
And the only difference is I think Kickstarter, as opposed to Indiegogo, is that it does tell you have to fulfill what your promise.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and Indiegogo, I know Indiegogo is like, well, this is not a store, so you're just raising funds to help you produce something. But Kickstarter is like, no, you have to, like, if you're promising something, you better deliver it at the date you are promising. So that's the one thing that they do tell you. They do warn you when you're building your campaign. But I dig it. I wanted to. The reason why I use Kickstarter is because I wanted to try another platform, just so I could have the experience of doing both Indiegogo and Kickstarter.
Uh-huh.
And I'm digging it. It's a different crowd for sure. It's a different batch.
See, that's my question. So would you then maybe launch like an Indiegogo also after this, you're thinking, or anything like that? Or
Yeah. But the pledge won't be the same. It'll probably be 500 because I already raised the funds for this one. Maybe the second chance will, I'm not going to offer the foil cover for the second chance, that's for sure. I'm just going to offer the regular book.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, and then that way people who missed out, it's like, well, you should have. Oh, look, we got another backer.
Oh, the Narwhal Nuge coming at
Narwhal
you.
Nuge. But yeah, I'm definitely going to for Indiegogo, I'm hoping and knock on wood, hopefully it works out. I'm hoping to get a few original pages from Andre to sell on Indiegogo.
Nice.
Because that's the one thing that Neff told me when I was on his stream, is that he was like, "Where's the original art, man? Like, why aren't you offering the original art of this artist to as one of the tiers?" And I was like, "Because I couldn't get a hold of him. That's why." And then plus, I didn't ask him because I'm a big proponent of letting I shouldn't say letting of artists that I work with keeping the original art.
Yeah.
There he is. There's
Joe.
Joe.
What's up?
Yo.
Oh, hey.
What's going
on?
But
yeah, I'm a big proponent of that. I prefer artists to keep their own work. And my wife always gets on my case about that. She's like, "Why don't you just ask for one page at least so I could frame it and put it on the wall?" And I was like, "Yeah, maybe in the future I'll start doing that." So I reached out to Andre and he's like, "Oh yeah, well, since it's been so long, man, I gotta look for them. But if I find them, I'll let you know." And I was all right, cool. So hopefully the second chance I'll be able to offer some of his pages for backers.
But that's fascinating that it is maybe you'll get some exclusive backers on either
right
site, and that means it is kind of worth it to launch on both. So I might have to do that sooner or later. I'll try and launch a Kickstarter, maybe see what's.
Yeah, you should, dude. You should. It's good to have. Again, you talk about reach.
Yeah.
Why not? It won't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, by the way, how's it going, man?
Hey.
Oh, Joe.
I think I'm late, or maybe I must have mixed up the times. But yeah, this looks great, man. I'm so glad that you funded.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Joe. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. We missed.
I calculated wrong. I had another little recording going on, and I guess when I got out, I was like, "Oh, I guess it's off." It's all good. This is awesome. What do you guys talk about?
Yeah. Oh, we talked about. We'll go fast. I was like, no, let's start all over again. But, we talked about marketing and narratives in marketing, and then whether or not that's good or bad, because there's pros and cons. And like within that is like ARG marketing, which is like the extra kind of funky, like what do you call it? Like Blair Witch Project marketing or something like that. And if there ever could be, like that kind of marketing for comics could be a good idea. You know what I think we got to do? I've been saying this on some other streams, but one of us has to date Taylor Swift. That's how we'll save comics, because then
Oh,
you
yeah.
bring in the Swifties.
Yes.
So
I
and
thought-
then
Well, we have to beat up the football player, right?
Yeah.
so we'll have
yeah.
to kidnap him, and then
Right.
somehow
No.
make him
We
look
have
like the
to.
bad guy.
We have to set him up with the girl, so that way she could write a song about him first, about breaking
We
her
have to
heart,
find a
and
better-looking
then
girl
to-
we can come swoop in and save her. You know?
Yeah, we
Right.
gift her the song. The
Mm.
other one is Brandon Sanderson selling hundreds of thousands of books on crowdfunding. Those people, they would buy comics, I think, like that. You just they gotta know, you gotta like sweeten them up a little bit or something. So one of us has to date Brandon Sanderson too. So we'll draw straws.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be someone's getting the short straw there, I think. But,
Yeah, and then we'll save comics. The quest to save comics via
yeah,
seduction.
that's what I'm trying to do on my channel too. I just trying to just trying to make it cool. Just trying to why are comics not like cool to the mainstream anymore? Or I think it's anime is and manga is not distorted some of what we bring to the table, but it's man, when I was growing up, anime and manga was you're bullied for it, and now it's if you don't know what the hell is going on with anime, you're the loser.
Yeah,
Right.
It's weird how it's flipped.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're just
yeah.
promoting books and stuff. I think we will go an extra half hour. So we'll go 40 minutes. So there's still plenty of time. And we're in the middle. We got the audience has kind of filtered in. We appreciate everyone being here. 11 people watching right now. And we're going to go over
Sweet.
Reset Protocol. We still haven't done the pitch of I don't know, is what Reset Protocol is specifically, because I can kind of guess, especially knowing the previous name for the book. But is it a spoiler, or is that part of the pitch kind of?
It's a little bit of a spoiler. Yeah. Once you the whole point, the idea was the title was supposed to entice you to want to know what that is.
Yeah.
What is the Reset Protocol? What does that look like?
Right.
And so yeah, it's just to do a quick pitch. It's about a cosmic voyager who arrives to a technologically advanced planet that's eligible for a seat in a galactic federation. And the catch is he just wants 1 day of full transparency, and he's given it. And as he's being paraded around, he starts getting visions of destruction and chaos and death and all that. And hey, what's up, Ray? And as he's being led, these visions are leading him to find this dark truth that this nation is trying to hide from him. And then when he discovers it, he's imprisoned and tormented. And that's when he decides that he has no other option but to use or to exercise the Reset Protocol. Nice.
It sounds sweet. And how many pages is it?
It's going to be about 52 pages.
Okay.
It's a one-shot book, so it's not a series. So it's I wanted to stay true to the the Mobius formula, which is he only told stories once and then he moved on to something else. And this is definitely a total love letter to Mobius's body of work, because he had such a profound influence on me during the time I wrote this story that I just thought, this is a good one and done. Because I have flirted with the idea of continuing the adventures of this cosmic voyager. His name is the Seeker, and it'd be cool, but at the same time, it's I can't do it unless I find an artist who draws like Andre or close to that vicinity of Mobius in order for it to continue on working. And so yeah, so far what I have is just a one-shot deal.
Cool. Yeah, and that's that can allow you to explore crazy concepts where it's about the sci-fi.
Right.
That's heavy metal style, kind of is like that.
Exactly.
That's what Mobius would draw on that and everything. Yeah, the art is awesome. It is kind of like that European sci-fi Mobius style, and the book's very affordable. Physical copy for $8. PDF, special foil. So that's funny, yeah, because this won't shoot up. Then some campaigns, it'll be the average backing is $200 because people are getting shirts and multiple covers.
Right.
And stuff.
Yeah.
And
This was straight up. That's another thing that Neff mentioned to me when I was on his stream is he's just like, dude, this is like, even though the stretch goal is like doable, but what you're offering is it's gonna slowly get there as opposed to doing leaps and bounds to get there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, honey, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
just gotta offer some party favors or something to
Something,
boost it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Something big where it could you could leap up there as opposed to step by step.
Yeah. And like the foil cover is like that, but it could go even more for the relativity of what the offerings. This is the one, because this is still very affordable. But
Yeah.
this is like what we're used to seeing, kind of. So you can get the crazy deals, and people were suggesting a reader copy and the foil. But you're saying
Right.
Kickstarter won't let you do that, right? Or
I it won't let you add like do an add-on. I think I could add more rewards. It's just now it's maybe I could do like a last day flash sale or something. Maybe if
yeah,
I
like
just don't know. I don't feel right. Amending it after I launch it.
Yeah, because then people were like, "Oh, I'd have to refund because
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
And I don't want to do that to the backers who already backed it.
Yeah, but yeah, so it'd be like if there's, I don't know, if it is like original art or whatever, if there's something that could have like, if it's like $100 or whatever, then you're big
Mhm.
spenders that want to, because sometimes people get that just because they want to support you, like,
Right.
but and they just get the highest tier, whatever it is. And we all have like the whales, the divorce dentists. There's a few of
Right.
those.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember those shoppers at the comic shops, man. They just stacks and stacks of books just waiting in line to get rung up.
yeah. Yeah, but it's cool, and it's exciting that it's just 4 days left. So everyone keep an eye on this. We'll definitely be like retweeting it and talking about it, keeping an eye on it, especially the last day too. And we'll see
Yeah.
if maybe some shout outs on live streams or something. Because it could easily, I feel like, yeah, it could easily double at least. So that'd be sweet, because it always goes fast at the end. So if it
Right.
gets to at least 200, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Yeah, that'd be great.
But hell, whenever I say that, I'm like, hell, why not 400? Shit.
Yeah.
Why not? Well, fuck, why not 800?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like what? There's like what 8 billion people in the world. And,
Yeah, I know that when you do that math, and then whatever it does end up being, and you come back down to earth. That's like
yeah.
every time I launch a campaign, I'm like, maybe this will be the 6-figure one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the goal
No.
for all of us.
Yeah, not yet though. But yeah, so chat, keep an eye on it. It looks great. This what they update in real time. So it's been a couple backers as we've been talking, which is nice.
Yeah.
Thanks
Great.
again.
Thank you guys.
And yeah, and then Ken with Air Rider. This one's right in the middle. 17 days to go. 58 backers, 3,000, which is nice. But yeah, want to get this as high as we can. Striking distance to 5 figures. We'll see where it ends, but that'd be awesome.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, Ken, want to tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah. So Air Rider is basically the story about the son of a school shooter who becomes a hero to right the wrongs of his father. And the story doesn't get into any of the darkness of that moment at the start. It just starts off kind of lighthearted with a guy trying to hit on a girl, and he's the main character. He's instead of making him a nerd character, I wanted to make him a delinquent, pretty much like what you would think the son of a school shooter would become like. So his father's not alive. His father's not in his life at all. And so he just becomes a bully. He becomes this angry, mean person, but he has a friend that balances him out and makes him want to aspire for better and become a better person. So by the end of this story, you'll see what he decides to what path he decides to take to accomplish that.
Cool. Sounds great. That's a great pitch. And the cover is awesome. That's cool.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Ken's a great cover artist and a great interior artist as well. But I'll let you guys know what he drew for me in the near future.
Appreciate it.
Is this a hardcover? It almost looks like a hardcover.
No, that's like it's a, what do you call it? A mock-up image, but it's a thick book. It's 40 pages, but it's not a hardcover.
Okay,
Gonna be,
it's like a double issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Cool. So, oh yeah, so like, yeah, it's like a staple bound double issue kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that pitch, it does sound, because you have pretty heavy manga influence, right, Ken? Is that fair to
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, and manga tends to start off like really lighthearted and then get into the dark stuff. So they'll seed the possibility for something dark happening later on in the story, but they'll start off like lighthearted and then they'll tease it out until they fully like hit you with the dark moment.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because it sounds like it could be a manga, like I would have
Yeah.
heard about it. It's like, it's kind of a cool idea. We were talking about this too. It's like, it's a little bit unaddressed. I don't know if it's taboo or what, but for me, I feel like I would want to, well, there's a little bit of some school shooting stuff in Earthbound, but it's like, that's not even like, I didn't even realize that it had that kind of reading on it until after the fact, because it's like a Nerf war, like nobody dies, they're just blasting and then you join their team kind of.
Mhm.
But it is a guy sneaking into the school and blasting everyone kind of thing.
Oh wow.
And yeah, but I think it's cool to do. One of my friends, he had a buddy who made a VHS movie with his friends. And it was like a 50-minute movie, so like a long movie, and he was a real filmmaker, but it was like never going to be released. It wasn't good enough. It was like amateur, but it was like had a full script, actors, and it was about school shooting, but then one guy's like super badass, like doing the Matrix and like dodging the school shooters' bullets and like killing all the school shooters and stuff. And it's like, it was very like edgy kind of. It's from that era too, of like edgy humor. That one was.
Right.
But even that still kind of makes me laugh a little bit. But yours isn't like that though. Yours is.
No. I mean, I did come up with the premise when I was like 17, and then it just kind of stuck because I started asking more questions like, well, how does a school shooter have a son? They usually, finish themselves off by the end of it, and like I started asking more questions like that. The premise just kind of naturally was a seed for, and it
That's
grew
cool.
into what it is right now.
Yeah, when you said that, I thought that question, and that's intrigue. That like made me want to read the book to find the answer to that question.
Right. And I try to stick with like early 2000s, like kind of 90s style, like Sam Keith with the Max, and like Bruce Timm verse, like cartoons and whatnot, like Static Shock and all that.
Yeah. There's got a little bit of a Static Shock kind of vibe to it for sure too.
Yeah, Ken, this looks great. I knew it came out, but man, I'm super busy, so I want to go do a deep dive on this page.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah. It's funny how that was kind of. I was telling Ken the last time we talked, it was the mailing list, and then this time it's right in the middle of the campaign. I'm glad we caught it because it was kind of it can be the kind of thing where you're like, yeah, we'll get on a live stream soon, and then they're like, yeah, it already launched and closed completely.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm putting it in the anthology.
Like that's how these things go. Like you can post it on like all your social media, but my family didn't know about it until like the end of the first week.
Yeah. Though I don't know how the algorithm for Twitter works. It's like, because you do get comments, people being like, "What? You watched this?" You're like, "I've literally been tweeting about it every day, multiple times a day."
Right.
So, and you follow me, but yeah, it doesn't always get out there.
Yeah.
Elon said your pinned tweet is supposed to get extra boost now, but only every 24 hours. So you can't just always pin every tweet that you do.
Oh, okay.
That's a good technique, though.
Yeah, you can try messing with that. And apparently they say don't put the link in, and I think there is a little something to that, but I still sometimes do it. But you put the link below, I guess, and then it will spread a little bit more or whatever. But yeah, this one looks great too, and it is doing good. How has it been have you got on some tours on YouTube or anything, or how's promotion been?
The only show I went on so far was Vaughn's show, Vaughn Coleman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, And before that, I did a live stream on my launch day, and I got a few backers then.
Yeah, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so
You're doing
keep
solid,
doing,
man.
yeah, keep doing the tour and letting people know because this one definitely looks sweet. And you've been around for a while, and we're pumping up and talking about this one, so we know it's had a lot of buildup, which is kind of nice too.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah. So chat, keep an eye out. 17 days to go, 58 backers so far. Joe, I just have your site.
Yeah,
which is
so
sweet.
yeah, I guess we can. There's like if you go to my YouTube channel, I'm pushing hard. If you want to talk about for just a second, we can do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so Good Joe is like a channel where I'm trying to like boost comics as far as just like making it fun just to go through it. So I've got some tutorials, but I also have like art breakdowns. I'm starting to go through like some really of like the cool artists that I personally like and getting comments from like the chat and everything to like see what artists do they want me to break down. So I'm slowly like going through this list of cool artists and showing people like what's really cool about comics and what makes the stylization in comics that cool and yeah, so there's a lot there, but yeah, I'm pushing it hard. It's growing quick.
Yeah, because so now 4.46, that's awesome. And I think the
Yeah.
last time we talked, it was like, was it 2.5 maybe?
2.5 or something. Yeah, it was under 3. And it's really like just putting out good videos and trying to get the most like a lot of people, the problem with putting out like what you really are passionate about, it doesn't always equal that mainstream audience will start watching. So my
Right.
goal is to try to like merge those a little bit. Like a lot of these are just like, clickbait, but also really, really comic oriented stuff, like why you're struggling to sit down and draw. That's kind of like a thing to try to pull you in. But what I'm doing in the video is just drawing a Star Circuit page as I talk about it,
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Nice.
So
you're getting pretty good at naming the videos. These
yeah,
all have,
that too. Yeah. It's a skill.
Yeah.
All
The
this stuff's a
argument
skill.
JI you need to hear. Yeah, and it's like what would you call it? It's like it follows a template almost, kind of.
Right.
It does. Yeah. It's almost like you have to bridge this thing where like they say like the more like just ambiguous you are with the title almost makes it better because they're just more curious. Instead of just saying like exactly what you're going to say in the video, you should just say like, this is going to change your life,
Yeah.
just like just becomes what you click on.
This is fun. It's fun to pick your brain as it's growing. Do you know so what's the like anecdote about they call it survivorship bias? Have you heard of this?
Yes.
So like it means we got to take everything you say with a grain of salt still, but anytime you always should do that. But
True.
the anecdote that's funny, it's like the World War II planes and they kept coming back with all these holes in the wings. And the guy's like, dude, you got to reinforce these wings more. And they kept trying to reinforce the wings. And then someone's like, wait a minute, we're looking at the planes that made it back. What about the planes that got shot down? That's where we should be reinforcing. So it's like kind of the opposite. Not that you would do that, but it's like anytime you have all this input, so you're guessing like what is my success? Like where does it come from? And it's valuable data, but it's like interesting.
And it even gets worse than that though, dude. Like I've heard that like a lot of like the super famous people will say, well, yeah, it's all hard work, but there's also a bias there too. Like, you never want to hear the famous guy say it was easy to get there. You know what I mean? Like that just makes it sound like you're like a arrogant asshole. You almost have to say it was hard. Otherwise you're just like screwed to your audience. Your audience like wants you to say you worked hard at it. If you say it's easy, or like, man.
Yeah, that would be like a folk hero, a guy just going, yeah, it was easy.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, but
dude,
learning how to title it, I'm getting better at it.
Yeah. I saw a tweet and it really made me laugh. And it said that a YouTuber who kind of looked like Mr. Beast, he went to Japan and convinced everyone that he was Mr. Beast.
Wow.
And that was the video, I guess.
Yeah, that's genius. Dude, it's all the idea, this like creative idea, and then you just like throw it at the audience. Like the weird thing about YouTube, it's the term content creation is almost really an apt term because it's not like a movie where you're trying to make, or like a comic where you're trying to make this vision happen. YouTube's just like the rules are make something cool and just throw it at them like in the best way possible.
Yeah.
You know,
A lot
don't
of
try to
people
like,
watch YouTube. They're always multitasking too. It's just
oh
funny.
yeah, yeah. If you start out with like a video that's like talking about whatever why it's raining every whatever month or whatever, like start with literally just saying that. Like you don't have to come up with a unique way to edge in with an intro and like a sound and music. Like just say that and start moving into the video. People don't understand that.
Oh, cool. And what
anyway,
about thumbnails? You have a little bit of that going on too. You're picking your thumbnails.
Yeah, it's I'm getting better at that. It's usually what you have to think about it is like a title, like for a comic book, like you need a title and then a subtitle. So they should talk to each other. Essentially, like one should be a question, one should be a response. Like why you're struggling to sit down and draw? Answer, you're not lazy. You see how that works? So you also don't want to close the loop. I know we talked about or Ken talked about that last time. You need to open the loop here with the thumbnail, but don't close it.
Yeah. Wait. So what is the closed loop? Let's remind me of that.
The closed loop would be like, why are you struggling to sit down and draw? And I literally said, literally what's in the video on the thumbnail. Like giving you the answer up front. You don't.
Yeah, you're struggling to sit down because blah. Yeah, that would be funny. No one would click on that. They'd be like,
right. Saying you're not lazy in this instance is vague enough where you're like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Right.
How is the comment life been? Do you get haters or do you get a lot of positivity or?
Mostly positivity, but like on the more, dude, it's just a numbers game. The higher it goes, like the top video on here is the 55,000 tutorial video.
Yeah.
That one got some weird ones. There's like, I got guys on there and be like, why are you trying to make it sound like it's easy to do art? I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, it's like there's always somebody out there that's going to have this counter opinion that doesn't really make sense, but like, you have to value it anyway in some weird way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, so everyone sub to Joe, check it out. And yeah, there's a little story beneath the story here where Joe's right on his journey of a growing YouTube channel. I had Julius on just recently. So the most recent video is Julius's interview.
It's a great video. I highly recommend you guys watch it.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like your show title, Good Company. That's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun.
Is Joe is good like one of your names, or just was that your brand, like Good?
It's kind of like my brand. I stumbled upon it. There's other Good Joes on YouTube, but I think whoever gets the most viewers becomes the main one. So that's my goal to be the only Good Joe. But I don't know. It's this relationship of like me being so like tight-fisted about making good art, and it's me kind of overcoming that. So it just fell into it was like this thing where like it doesn't have to be good. So I don't know. It's me playing with this idea of me being too uptight about me wanting to make good art.
Yeah.
It's also when you're a kid, everybody's like, good job, good job, good job. And, no one's ever just like, oh, you probably should work harder at this one thing and just improve. And I don't know. It just is like a trend to always just.
Yeah. Isn't that like just always like, I understand it, because you don't want to hurt someone's feeling. But at this point, it's like, no, I need to hear that. I need to hear that. Hey, you need to work on this. You need to work on that, and I'm forever grateful for that one editor that I got to work with years ago who pretty much just totally like read my script and says, Julius, you need a lot of work.
That's the most useful to you for sure.
Oh, dude, it was the best because then he went with me page by page. Okay, here's what's working for you. Here's what's not working for you. You need to work on this. You need to work on that. That kind of stuff. And I was forever grateful for that one session that I got. It was free too because he was hired by a writer who hired me to help him write his story, and he hired the editor to help with the guidance of it, and he gave me that big huge script breakdown, which I was grateful for. But it's always best to do that.
That's super useful.
Nice.
We can still because I got big news on Star Circuit as well if we want to scoot, but as far as the YouTube channel, it's growing, so hopefully that'll help promote everybody in the long run too. So
nice.
At
least that's the goal. My main goal is to just make comics awesome again. As far as like just PR, like comics are always been awesome, but
Right.
the PR,
Right.
let's make that awesome again.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and this is the one we talked about it last time a little bit, but it's like the algorithm shining its light upon you for some
Yeah,
reason.
it's a bizarre thing, dude. Like how it just works. But a lot of people say like you can substitute the word algorithm for audience, but it's not necessarily true. But it is somewhat. People do have to like the video, and then eventually the algorithm. I think this year, young, smaller like channels are getting boosted. That's what I hear. The
For real,
algorithm's
yeah, I
boosting
see
small-
that.
Yeah,
Okay,
So-
cool.
it's our year pretty much. So if you want to grow, this is the year.
Nice.
Yeah, it's engagement is key, isn't it, to growth?
It's engagement. It's the click through rate. Pretty much like that first 30 seconds of your video, you need to be like Narwhal. You're really good at this. Like your videos like are really good to hook you. And pretty much the first 30 seconds, you should be really, really intricate and really meticulous about every second. Like so, saying the extra second for you to say .com. Instead of just saying the website without .com is something you should probably pay attention to. Every second counts. You know, what you're saying in the first 30 seconds.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. It is. It's so nuanced or kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's a skill in its own. Yeah.
Yeah. It is funny, and it's the kind of thing where anyone trying to break into it, you just have a million blind spots, so you don't even know what to look at. Like I noticed a few things. Like you can look at talented YouTubers, and one thing I noticed is they do like, and although now even AI is changing this, but talented YouTubers used to be they have like a lyricism to how they talk, kind of sing-songy, like up and down or whatever. And
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh no, so I can notice that, but there's a million things I don't notice. But now a lot of them just use AI and it'll do that for you. And it like
You're right.
Wow.
Man, it's annoying sometimes because I don't want to talk too much about it again, but hey, Quaff's here.
Quaff.
Also, yeah, I was gonna say like it's annoying how you have to kind of bridge this gap of not being such a shill to YouTube. You know, like you want to be a shill for you instead of YouTube essentially, but the problem is like usually what you do is not really going to be the most widespread, and for you to grow quickly, you almost need to pander just a little bit, enough to get the snowball, rolling the right way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Were you saying some Star Circuit news?
Yeah.
Too?
I did an email not too long ago, but yeah, I have a launch date. I'm going to do April 17th, I think, probably on Bancroft. We'll launch this thing. So
Nice.
Star Circuit 2
Nice.
is it's a big 72-page second chapter to Star Circuit 1, which Star Circuit's a comic book in a cyberpunk world where androids are now the pretty much do everything for you type of world. They pretty much as common as cell phones are now, androids are in this future, and they do all the dirty work. So in this world, they also have kind of surpassed humans in a lot of different ways. And in this story, we focus around the pop culture is pretty much focusing around moto racing, and androids.
Yeah.
These AI androids are now the pinnacle of that too. And so in this second chapter, the main character kind of left off with a little bit of a circuit type of like everybody's got a brain circuit, and he has started glitching out at the end of the first chapter, and now we figure out why, and that glitching is kind of we'll say sparked the interest of the villain and has kind of put him in more danger. And so we're continuing on the story, but the main goal here is the main character he's always thought it was possible to race the androids, but no one else thinks it's possible. Everyone has died or seriously injured. It's been like that for generations, but he's going to try to be the first.
Cool. Yeah, I feel a little hype for this. Like it feels like something in the air because it's part 2, and you said it's 72 pages. Part 2 is kind of fun because a lot of people will be getting part 1 and 2, like me. Yeah. Cough. But so
yeah,
that'll be like then that we're talking about, that average backing goes up because people are getting both books, and you have the word of mouth from the first. Yeah, so it like has a chance to surpass or whatever, or even explode a little bit. So, and your channel at the same time is doing well. So April 17th, everyone mark your calendars. Launching with Bancroft is fun too. He's great for that.
Yeah,
Great at that.
that was the point. I go back to him because like he really was influential in just tinging my flavor of how I should launch, and like he's just a good guy like that to help you out. But Star Saga 2, I'm doing mostly digital stuff. I want to put a little feeler out here. I asked a lot of people this. There's one controversial-ish thing I'm doing in the book. I have certain parts in the book for certain reasons that I think are pretty creative. I'm having the reader turn the book into what I call calendar mode, like calendar view. It's for a specific reason. Every instance that I've seen out there that people have done this, I feel like a lot of books have done this before, but I don't think to super great effect. A few of them have. But what's your thoughts on it?
I am so pro gimmick, especially if you, like you're saying, there's like an extra reason. I can imagine like if it's like you're steering a motorcycle or whatever.
That would be so tight. I'm probably going to steal that idea just now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool because it is disorienting, but that's literally the whole kind of the gimmick of the gimmick within the story. It's just meant to be a transitionary. So essentially, whenever you're in this certain spot, you're going to be turning the book to be in that spot. They did connect.
They did it really well in Batman Court of Owls, the first volume. So I think if you look at that, if you look at that, I think that'll I don't have many comics signed, but I had him sign that book because it's where I was inspired for some of this. But there's other books that recently have done it, and I feel like what they don't really do is guide the reader to turn, and I think that's what you need to do. You need to like meticulously have like each little step of them turning without them knowing they're turning. Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah, because it would be if they turn and they go, huh? That's already kind of weird if it's like that or whatever.
Right.
Excuse my ignorance, but what is it you want to do, Joe?
So calendar view. Imagine like you have like a pinup calendar with all like an old school calendar. That's the view on some part of the book. You'll be flipping up instead of flipping left to right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I never heard of the term, but okay, now I understand.
Yeah. In my scripts, that's what I call it, just so editors like. Speaking of, I'll have to talk to you about it, but yeah, I have to mention it in my scripts that way it's real easy with one word. I can say what we're doing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Nice. Yeah. So we have a few options what we can do. We can kind of wrap up, but since I have you guys here, I don't mind hanging out a little bit longer and chatting a little bit more if you guys want to. So at this point, I release everyone if they have other stuff they have to do, but otherwise we might continue hanging out, chatting just a little bit. One thing, and then it might get a little more informal. I might draw while we talk, even or something.
Sure, I can chill for a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't. I have to. I'm hearing the baby crying, and my wife just texted me. I need you. She's like, "When are you almost done with the stream?" So
yeah, sounds good.
I would love to sit here and chat because I've been having such a blast talking to you guys about the process and our books and stuff. So, but duty calls. That's the thing about being a dad, right? You gotta help out the wife.
Yeah, totally. 1602 also that when that digit changes.
Thank you guys again for that. But Joe, we'll definitely I'll contact you this weekend because I'll be free this weekend.
Cool.
We can talk some more.
Yeah, sure, that'd be cool.
Are you guys doing some editing for each other or something? Or?
Yeah, I'm kind of like I've gone through a lot of different editors. You can call it like shopping around, but it's not really shopping. It's more like just seeing how other people do editing, and in some ways it's shopping around for the future. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
It's a trial. It's a trial run.
Yeah. Like that, it's like the balance of I appreciate an editor how harshly truthful they'll be or whatever, but then if they're too much, then you're like, no, it's too much. I hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's like walking the fine line. You gotta pick your battles, pick and choose which one's what you should say, how you say it, and everything. So it's
right.
It's cool. I love it. But I have to take off, guys. But it was great chatting with you. We should do this again. I always enjoy talking to you guys. So hopefully in the near future we can all hang out again, talk.
Yeah,
shop.
I agree. We can do it on other channels too, but this can be a little unofficial, kind of little quadro. Is that a thing? I don't know. The four
Quartet.
Yeah.
Quartet,
Quartet. There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
See you,
Peace.
Julius.
I'll watch you. I'll watch you guys from afar on YouTube while I
Nice.
take care of the baby.
Be sure to give us a thumbs up.
I will for sure.
Nice.
All right, guys, take it easy.
See ya.
Yeah. So one, just a few more, because like it's been fun. We chatted about a lot and got to promote everything. But I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, we still could talk like about, I guess, like storytelling stuff. But specifically, the one came out last time that I can't remember if we were starting to dig into it, but it's kind of like addiction and how manga handles addiction. That
Oh, yeah.
definitely like intrigues me. And I don't know. I got one only really one like contributing thought to start is that I've noticed it's almost like two kinds of addiction. So one is where it's more like episodic storytelling where you finish the story and it might only be 20 pages and then you go about your day, but then you find yourself wanting to go back to read another story in that world or with that character, another episode. But you already, it's like a new story, like the other one finished. But so you're kind of looking forward to it at the end of the day to go to that world and that character. And then there's the type of addiction where you're like, I need to know what happens next. I need to turn the page. I need to keep reading, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And they're both good and they're kind of different. But the one that's like a little harder for me, I guess, the one I always try to do is just the page turning reading one. But
Right.
the other one is like interesting. Like sometimes if you watch like sitcoms, like Friends of all shows was like this, and they got it with a will they, won't they with Rachel Ross. And I know manga does that too. Like I don't know if it's a trope or whatever, but they like call it the will they, won't they, and that is like absolutely addicting.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta keep watching. And so I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on?
I'll let you go, Ken. I have some thoughts as well. You can go first if you want.
Yeah. One is like it's very interesting that you categorize it into two different categories, whereas the episodic type of addicting and you want to get into that world, and the one where you really want to know what happens next. And manga is probably the top percentile when it comes to teasing out that will they, won't they type thing. And I think that has to do with the level to which they're able to make you ask questions and then pay those questions off. Like if they raise a question for you that you want to know the answer to, and they can pay it off emotionally and satisfyingly, like time after time, you begin to trust that author and you want more and more from them, and that creates that addictive feeling where it's like they open that loop and they make you ask a question, and then when they answer that question, it's almost like a devastating mix of like emotion or trauma or whatever, and they're like, oh wow, I love that. Like the reader loves that feeling of like putting two and two together, like wait a minute, if this happens, then this will happen. And then when it actually does happen, it's like boom, like it just completely destroys you. And manga is like really expert at doing that over and over.
Yeah.
Filling the gap. Yeah, you have to
Mhm.
fill the gap.
Yeah, you said the keyword that I took away is you said tease, and I'm like absolutely teasing. Teasing is a form of addiction almost itself. Like I don't know, it's like
Yeah.
like almost like by definition, teasing is like a little bit of what like the feeling of addiction. It's like what it feels like. Being teased is the same as feeling addicted, kind of.
Right.
Yeah. You know what? I don't want to interrupt. You have some.
Oh, just really quick. Like they don't want you to they don't want to give you the whole ball of yarn at the same time, or else you'll just get bored. They want to give you a little bit by bit so that it makes you chase that candy trail until they finally like get you with the whole thing they're trying to spring on you.
Yeah, dragon. What were you gonna say, Joe?
Dude, I've read a lot of manga, but not. I'm saying it manga, especially for Kirby down there says can't pronounce, but yeah. So manga for me, I haven't read like a ton as like a crazy reader, like what would they call it? An avid type of always picking up the books. But I've got some series that I like. But I also correlate it to anime as well because they're pulling directly from the arcs, from the books, and they're almost
Mhm.
probably pulling the cliffhangers as they come. So I think when I'm looking back to a lot of ones that done it well, some of them really have this element of like chunking these huge moments and like making a lot of progress. So like there'll be a lot of times where it was like this teasing, it's gonna come. Don't worry, we're like there's this thing on the horizon, and then all of a sudden it's in your face before you can even think about it. Like
Yeah.
there's a what was the show I'm thinking of? Solo Leveling that just is kind of new
Oh yeah.
out there. Have you watched like that show? You watch the first few anime episodes, and it jumps from like 0 to 1,000 within seconds, and you don't even realize it. And I think for that reason, you're like, man, I don't even know where it's going to go. Like I thought this was going to be episode 30, and we're at episode 2. So
Yeah. Manga does that. They do that seemingly more than American, where they go so fast where you're like, wait, you just threw away a lot of golden stuff you could have played with, and you're just going so fast. What are you even doing now? Like, where are you going?
yeah, but the thing is, like after that, they find ways. They're like, the only way to do that is to then throw a left hook because you're like, oh, where can it go from here? Now we throw you this left hook that opens up this new progression. You thought it was going to be about this one journey, but it's really not. That was just like a thing we jumped to within 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Because actually, like if it is what you think, that is definitely not addicting. That is
Right.
like almost the opposite, and it's not teasing either. Where you're like, oh, come on. That's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like even some of the worst examples is like if you go to like American Hollywood, what was the third Star Wars movie or something was just so bad for that kind of stuff, where you're like checking your watch almost because you're like, I get it. I get
Yeah.
what you guys are doing. Like,
Yeah,
Right.
pull out a
come on.
lightsaber. Yeah.
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 But then when they do hit you with the twists, twists are hard. I don't even fully, but I'm writing teasing and twisting. We got our two T's.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
addiction
that makes
so
it
far.
easy.
And
to
Rick and
remember.
Morty is kind of similar in that way that they'll have episodes that the episode is about one specific thing, but they'll go through 1,000 different concepts through the span of the episode that could be its own series just from that 5 seconds that they show that one concept.
Yeah, if it's like an embarrassment of riches. That's kind of
Yeah.
I can relate to that feeling where if you feel that while you're watching something, you're like, damn, and this is what they're choosing to show me.
Right.
It means it's even more curated. I really get like
Absolutely.
I kind of feel that way about Inception. Like Inception is kind of cool, and you're like, man, this should be a TV show, or this should be a trilogy or more stories. And you're like, but they told you one story in that world, and it's like the story kind of.
Right.
So it's like the most curated, cool story.
Yeah, it does give the I think the key thing, I don't know if it's a part of the tease, but like the trust, the thing you brought about trust, like the minute you start doing it over and over, it's the same thing with YouTube. Like the minute like the audience trusts that the video is going to be good, they stop thinking, is it going to be good or is it not going to be good? At some point they're just like, it's going to be good. Let me just let down my guard and like subtle things happen at that point.
Right. Because
the psychology of it.
Yeah.
What were you saying,
like at that point you've figured out a formula and what your audience likes, so you can deliver on it more consistently or break the rules whenever you feel like it.
Yeah. So now I got my 3 T's. Teasing and twisting equals trust.
Nice.
Now we can all write masterpieces if we only would have had this conversation sooner. No.
Yeah.
It's so much.
Concepts are just concepts.
It's kind of a mystery. It's still a mystery to me. I can get in the weeds, and you can be like, you can read something later, and you're like, oh, I kind of did some of that stuff. Nice. But sometimes when I read manga, I get the feeling they do construct it. Actually, like sometimes I'm like, are they constructing it like cynically? Like they're absolutely manipulating the audience, and they got them by the balls, and they know it, which is not even that bad. But it's funny. It's like the other side would be like, I'm just floating, getting ideas, and I'm being a creative person. And here's the story. Tell me if you like it. And
I think
manga
it
was
used to be like that, but yeah, I think it's such a machine now that like if you're not doing that, if you don't have the science behind, I wouldn't be. I just have this image of like like the whole like Rocky Four, like some comic artist on a machine. They got them like pumped up with like IVs of what what I mean. In my mind, that's how
Yeah.
like it's down to a science. Like
Yeah.
they got scientists watching these
Yeah.
guys
Oh,
draw it.
you know what someone was saying too that that manga has that American comics don't is they're all born in fires of basically competition and audience keeping the audience because it's all starts in the magazine and you get like I don't know if it's 20 pages or whatever and then if it gets voted out like on a Survivor Island or whatever.
Yeah,
And
weekly
Yeah.
basis. Yeah, just like
yeah, so they are so like that would change everything, and they would know stuff that we don't know inherently. They're just like, oh yeah, you can't do that. What you're starting
Yeah.
way too slow. Like, why do they care? Like, yeah, I
yeah,
guess
it's huge. That's the market. Yeah.
yeah. If you could kind of fake it by picturing the most what do you call it skeptical audience ever, and then you're like, okay, yeah, like we got to deliver the goods right away. The first 20 pages have to be amazing. We gotta, the teasing, the twisting, the
Yeah.
like going further than you think you would go to the embarrassment of riches, and then left turning somewhere where you wouldn't even go.
Right.
That the idea of going further, that's a kind of a fun twist because it's sort of like this quote unquote same direction, but it's just a twist because it happens so fast. You're like, wait a minute, you're doing it already? Like, what do you have in store?
Right.
That would kind of build the trust a little bit.
You know what?
It's funny because everything we're talking about too is not like this is in the West. They say like, you got to have good characters, good emotion, like maybe a good plot or whatever. Like, but we're talking more about like the psychology of the audience, and that's what it feels like. Manga is like more focused on a little bit.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to trying to write those twists, it's like you can have what you actually want your story to focus on, and then you can write it on purpose to seem like it's going in a different direction, but then you twist it to focus on what you actually were intending in the first place. I think that's
Yeah.
what would work in that case if you're writing it. But on the point of the other thing I wanted to say with the trust in manga. Oh yeah, like with manga, they have the editors, and I think they know the science of what works and what doesn't, because they work for the magazine and they just have guidelines and templates to tell the reader, like, or to tell the creator. Like, the creative is the one who wants to do all the creative stuff and just have the ideas and whatnot. The editor is the one who's like, no, it needs to be this, this, and this, so it can be marketable to a wider audience. And one thing that I've noticed in manga is that a lot of the time the main character will be shorter. Like, most likely they're the same height as the average Japanese man, if you're talking about like shonen. And then every other character will be um either taller or shorter than that basic template of a main character, but that main character is usually the strongest. So, or like aspiring to be the strongest. So
Mhm.
it's like it's it's almost like the Japanese average reader of that comic can project themselves more into that character if they're the same height. So you have
Damn,
like
that's
characters like,
genius.
yeah, you have like I mean, this is just what I've noticed, and I think it's something that they try to do on purpose. And they have characters
Now that
like
you bring it up, yeah.
yeah, I mean, they'll have characters like Kenshin, this character named Gabi Maru the Hollow from this show called I'm blanking on the name, but it's Hell's Paradise. They'll
Hell's
he's
Paradise, yeah.
they're both like very short, and they'll have like Luffy from One Piece. He's also really short. Um, and Naruto. Like, they're not
Mhm.
like the shortest people, but they're just like average height, probably average height of the reader that reads their manga. So it's like they're trying to tap into that psychology more.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Because to me, when I think about that, that's like five. If they're really doing that, that's like 5D chess. Because like to me, that's like, you can design the character any way you want, but it's almost like regardless if you're strong or not, we're gonna make you look like you're not because subconsciously the reader is going to be more attached to or can relate better and imprint. To me, that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. Dude, American comics need. Well, so the market is what's interesting to me, because if you think about like the market, just markets in general, the more competition, the better it is, and I think that's the difference. Like, I think there's as much competition here in America over comics, but the difference is the pathways of making a manga in Japan are like there's like 5 pathways, and they grind that groove. Like what I'm saying is like there's thousands of other clones of say Demon Slayer out there. They're just not as good as Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is just the one, the
Yeah,
cream of the crop
that's
swordsman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a million other demon slaying swordsman like stories. That's just the one that worked.
Yeah.
Right.
And they might be more okay with that. Like where this is like 1 point for the West a little bit. Is like we're more throwing shit at the wall, trying different things, but they have some perfected stuff done many times.
Yeah, I that's
guess.
my big issue with like how they approach stories is like it's just not free enough as we like to have it over here. But
Yeah.
Right.
you know, I think they're changing with their own times, their own culture over there.
Yeah.
Um,
What's a specific example of when you were talking about like the speeding up the pace and it's like in your face all of a sudden with like the new show? I forget what show it was, but is that something that you can like explain the full context if it takes like a minute or two or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. So in this case, in this story, Solo Leveling, it's kind of brilliant. A lot of these stories are very similar. Like I said, in this one, it's a world where it's almost like a gamified world where everyone is kind of playing this game, except in this world, the one lie in this world is that, or the one truth / lie is that everyone can't level up like you can in real life. Everyone that's fighting these monsters can't level up, except this one main character guy who gets in a circumstance where now he can. He's the only guy ever. Everyone else is stuck at their own level 35 or wherever else, but he's at the bottom, but able to level up like we do in life. You know, it's just hard. The difference is he jumps leaps and bounds, like almost literally by number. And so I guess that's why it's easy to say a specific example. The example would be he goes into, let's just say, like at some point in time, he gets a message in his mind in like a gamified way, like of a menu telling him if you do like 100 squats and just do all these basic exercises like you would do in real life, like just do some calisthenics and you'll level up. At some point, they just throw him into like a dungeon. Like he accidentally goes into a dungeon, he can't get out, and now the only way to get out is to like actually do the impossible. Like there's no way out. He just somehow does, and when he gets out, now they literally changed the character model. If it's 3D, I don't think it's 3D, it might be hand drawn, but the character model literally changes from like kind of chubbier, kind of a shaggier head to like now this is the new guy. This is a totally different dude. He's like tall, slender, girls like him, like a totally different guy.
Yeah. You know, that's another trope out there that is just a fun one, but it's the makeover trope. And it's like applied to manga leveling up is funny.
It's just funny because there's like a million other stories like this. And this one just, I think, works because it's so in your face and just like, I don't want to use the word blatant, but like clear storytelling.
Yeah. I think it was one of the first and the most famous, but it's based on a webtoon. And then almost every other webtoon just started trying to copy that same formula after that of the main character being the only one who can do this special trait or this special thing in the world. And he's like this awesome guy. It's a power, like it's the ultimate power fantasy for anyone who's reading it.
Well, I like it because it mirrors real life. I think it works best because it's a weird world where like here's a fantasy where it looks like real life, but everyone's held back except this one guy. So it's like, whereas we're in real life, everyone can level up just like he is doing, but no one's doing it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds cool. And it sounds like, like just that is a little bit the way manga. Sometimes it feels almost matter of fact the way they set up the story and start paying it off, and like we were saying, like a machine sometimes. And but then you're like, damn it, why does it work so well?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
I'm amazed at like what they do. I mean, all of my creative ideas are not in the box, and I wish I had some more ideas that are in the box. That like most of my creativity comes from like gimmicky kind of. Here's a problem that we don't have. I'm going to create the problem and then solve it for somebody. Instead of like, let me just solve plot. You know what I mean? Like something in the box and something more that way. Kind of off camera, I probably want to talk to you guys about like this idea I'm having, but because it just needs more development. However, like I said, it's kind of based around a gimmick instead of just like tried and true methods that say manga has. You know?
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and speaking of like the accelerating kind of the story and using that as like a little bit of building trust kind of thing is how fast you're like able to go. That is like the like mathematically addiction can be based on acceleration. I know that like there's like a game called like the paperclip game. Have you guys heard of this at all?
I think so.
I've heard of it, but now I'm like blanking on what it actually is.
Yeah, it's like a website, and you can go to it, and all you do is click buttons, and it says like, you have like 100 paper clips. Do you want to sell them? And you go yes. So it says like you have $1. You can buy like 200 paper clips. You say yes, and then when you get enough money, so then you can buy a little paperclip factory. So you're making a little more, and then it just keeps going. But so when it starts, and it's funny because I don't know if it's like your personality or whatever, but for me, twice I've played it. Both times I end up playing it for like 6 hours, and until it's done, basically till you get to that kind of the end, like infinity, where your paper clips have like taken up the whole universe or whatever. But yeah, you start with like one paper clip, and then it is like mathematically like doubling, and you're just exponentially growing your business. And there'll be moments where you can discover new science technologies that like will make your 1,000x or more even your like paperclip production. And you see the numbers, like the zeros start spiraling out, and then like it's like 0 to the 1 to the, and that's spiraling, and that's kind of towards the end. And the feeling you get, and you're just like, I must keep clicking. And
what's that concept? That addiction seems like you are curious to see what happens type of addiction, right? Like
yeah, it is. It's like it's unfolding because at any point, if it's an order of magnitude from like 1 to 10 to 100, it could be. It's kind of like it in Final Fantasy when you get to the world map and you get the airship. That's like this exponential unfolding of. It's almost like you can see the zeros come across the screen or whatever. Wow. So, and then like. Yeah, like manga does that too. That's like they joke, I think, because Dragon Ball Z is like it keeps exponentially the power, but then there's almost like a problem because eventually they're punching universes and stuff, Like,
yeah. I almost like I'm looking forward to like maybe a time when like manga or something like changes a little bit and has the counterculture of let's just make it as grounded as possible. We're like nothing like it never breaks out of season 1 of Dragon Ball Z, like, and they never get any stronger. Like it's like within this like range, and they're getting stronger, but only within this range. I wonder if that'll ever come where it never gets to universe defying, skills.
Yeah.
That'd be weird to see.
If they do any like, well, because they must have had some. Because they do kind of everything, so you could probably find some examples where they're being pretty out there, but we don't necessarily get that necessarily into our culture. It's not like shonen or whatever.
I would say,
but I'd be curious. Yeah, I'd be curious what their classic stories that were at the time groundbreaking. Like if we would, we could name like The Dark Knight, Watchmen, Sin City, like those 2 Frank Miller ones even, but I don't know when manga if they're like, yeah, and then JoJo's Bizarre Adventure came out and everything changed. I'm like, I don't know if that's the case.
I mean, that's the case for Dragon Ball Z for sure.
Oh yeah. Did it almost like invent shonen like as we know it now? Like what was it like before?
It was definitely like what do you call it? Fist of the North Star. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was more like that where the men were like much more like macho and bigger proportions and whatnot. But then when you got Goku, the main character, he's more like a kind of got like a kiddish face and but he's still strong. It's that combination, it's that contrast between those character elements that really sparked that appreciation in readers. So more
Yeah, it's also that
characters were
underdog
created
story
like that.
too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah,
starts
it's
off.
like that
Oh,
underdog
yeah.
thing where he's the weakest of the superior race, right? So he's
Yeah, a
got a
little
long way
bit.
to
Yeah.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
or at least the perception. Yeah,
Fist of the North Star it like vexes me too because I watch it and I'm like, it's pretty great. And it's entertaining the whole way through. But I've just seen the movie. But I was like, damn, like he beats everyone easily, never even has a chance of losing until the last fight they kind of draw and they almost kill each other, which is funny. So they're like, okay, it is possible that and that almost fixes everything. But I was almost like, what the hell are they doing? They're not doing the way I know storytelling's supposed to go. I thought you're supposed to make it hard for the main character.
Right.
But,
yeah.
but that's kind of part of what that vibe of what they go for. They do that on purpose too.
Mhm.
And some kung fu's like that too. Like even like Bruce Lee, like he very rarely gets punched or whatever. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess he's just like fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kind of cool.
power trip a little bit.
Yeah,
And he's also small though, so you're wondering if he's going to be that good, but he is.
Right.
yeah. They do that. They go like, now trust me, this time he actually is facing a tough challenge that he probably won't be able to defeat. Okay, he defeated it. Okay, now trust me though, but this time he actually probably will die. He probably's not going to make it. Okay, he beat it. Well, this time, yeah.
Right.
There's an episode of Samurai Champloo. Did you guys ever watch that one?
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that I think it might be my favorite episode, but it's the one where I think it's Mugen is the guy who breakdances.
Mhm.
He has to, I think it's Mugen. Yeah, he has to like meet someone for a duel, and but it's the first time he's met anyone who's possibly better than him, and it's
Mhm.
kind of loosely kind of based on like, I guess like High Noon Western, like that structure of like the fight's coming, and you're probably gonna die. So what do you do on your last day? And he doesn't necessarily spend it training. He kind of spends it like half saying goodbye to people. It's like kind of awkward, and he's half deciding like maybe he's just gonna run away. He could, but he can't. He needs to do it, and then it like builds up to the fight, and it's like super intense. And I forget what happens. Apparently he survives, I think, but
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I do remember that vaguely. It's been in quite a few years, but yeah, that's a
yeah,
cool episode.
yeah. Yeah. So I might wrap the stream up. We can chat a little bit behind the scenes too. But yeah. Thanks
Cool.
everyone for being here. And you guys, thanks for joining me. 13 people watching. So it's reset protocol. 3 days left. Oh, it ticked to 3
Just now.
recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
nice.
oh, look at that. We got one.
Yeah.
Went to 96. Nice. So that's
Yeah.
cool. So it's gone up like three Narwhal Nuges while we
Nuges.
Yep.
yeah. And then Air Rider is looking great concept, awesome art, very manga influence, like what we're talking about. This is like Ken's very well studied. This I guarantee this will be addictive in the way that we're talking about it.
One day.
Yeah. And then Good Joe's YouTube, which is doing really good, and that's awesome. And that was fun hearing the insights on that. And then the launch is April 17th, right?
Yep. It's a Wednesday. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, on Bancroft's channel, and it's number 2, so that'll be a lot of fun. Everyone's looking forward to that. So, and then I got one live too, Grand Prix Part 2. So everyone keep this in mind.
That's doing well, man. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yep. Cool. So with that, I'll SGA, what up? Snoogie Boogies. I will end the stream here. So